Dear students, hope you are all doing good at home. I hope you are all taking the necessary precautions of COVID-19 to stay healthy. Stay home and stay safe. In the previous lecture, we have covered about the topics of message passing and its features. So in this lecture, you will be able to know the concept of synchronization in distributed systems. What is meant by synchronization? Any action or we can say that when the operation or activity of two or more things at the same time or at the same rate is called as a synchronization. So the action of causing a set of data or files to remain identical in more than one location is called as synchronization. Not only in one location or in a device also. Means whenever you open a Gmail account in mobile, in such a case also it should you should be able to see whatever the mails you got at that point of time. The same messages which are appearing in a desktop or when you are in a geographical location of different place also, it should be the same. So it is nothing but the synchronization. It should remain identical in different places also. So that is what synchronization. Overall, the things should happen at the same time or same rate is the general meaning. So in computing, it should be same in more than one location. So one of the important issue in this communication is synchronization, and synchronization should be imposed, should be added in communication process by the communication primitives. The semantics so used for synchronization are classified as blocking and non-blocking types. So these two types of semantics used for communication process is send and receive primitives. We have already discussed this in the previous lecture, as the basic primitives or the communication primitives are send and receive. So synchronization should be imposed on these two types of primitives, that is send message comma destination, what is the message and to which destination it should send, and receive from which sender we got that message is source comma buffer. So in case of a blocking send primitive, after execution of the send statement, the sending process is blocked until it receives an acknowledgement from the receiver that the message has been received. Means the sender cannot send further messages until it receives an acknowledgement for the previous message from the receiver. It is called as blocking send primitive. Okay, I will repeat. In blocking send primitive, we are blocking the sender process after what? Execution of the send statement. Whenever we click on send statement, the sender process is blocked until we receive an acknowledgement from the receiver that the message has been received. Say for example, when you ping hi to your friend, you will not send further messages until you receive hi from there. Like that, the sender process will be blocked until it receives an acknowledgement from the receiver. In what case? Blocking send primitive. And the second case is non-blocking send primitive. So after execution of send statement, the sending process is allowed to proceed with its execution as soon as message is copied to a buffer. We are not bothered about we are getting acknowledgements or not. In this case, we will so on sending messages. All the messages will be copied to a buffer. So this one is non-blocking send primitive. Non-blocking, no restriction, send, blocking send, acknowledgement should receive. And the other case about receive. All these two primitives are send primitives, where you have blocking send primitive, non-blocking send primitive. In the similar manner, we will have two cases for receive primitive, that is blocking receive primitive and non-blocking receive primitive. In case of a blocking receive primitive, after execution of receive statement, the receiving process is blocked until it receives a message. Okay. The only thing is, if it is blocking send, sending process is blocked. If it is blocking receive, receiving process is blocked. And on the other hand, the non-blocking receive primitive means the receiving process proceeds with its execution after the execution of the receive statement, and which controls almost immediately all the information about telling the kernel where the buffer message buffer is. Like that, it will continue its execution. So for a non-blocking receive primitive, we have an issue how the receiving process knows that the message has arrived in the message buffer. Means it just keep all the messages in the message buffer. We should, how the receiving process will know that message has arrived into the buffer, I have to read. Like that, how it knows? Why? Because we are not blocking the receive primitive. In this case, if we get the message, we will directly read that message. Whereas here in this non-blocking receive primitive, the receiving proceeds with its execution after the execution of receive primitive. So we need to take care of the case where a non-blocking receive primitive. What is the issue? How a receiving process knows that the message is arrived in the message buffer. For this, one of the following two methods are used. For what? To know the message is in the message buffer by the receiving process. One of the method is polling. So in this method, a test primitive is provided to allow the receiver to check the buffer status. Always it checks the buffer status. If it is with any message 1, if it has no message, it is 0. Like that, we will have a test primitive which allows a receiver to check the buffer status. The receiver uses this primitive to periodically poll the kernel to check if the message is already available in the buffer or not. So kernel is nothing but OS. This primitive will always give an instruction to the kernel to check if the message is arrived or already available or not. Like that, one of the method is polling method, so that it can know that new message has arrived or not. and the second one is interrupt. In this method, when the message has been filled in the buffer and is ready for use by the receiver, some interrupt is used to notify the receiving processes. All the receiving processes are notified that they have got some message via a software interrupt. It will send that a new message alert, like that it will give some interrupt to the receiving process. So in both, with these both the cases, the blocking receive primitive can know that the message is available in the buffer. So variant of non-blocking receive primitive is the conditional receive primitive. Means it also returns control to the invoking process either with a message or with an indicator that no message is available. And the next is, in a blocking send primitive, the first we have discussed, the sending process could be blocked forever in some situations where the acknowledgement is crashed case or the sent message has been lost on the network due to some communication failure. Why? Because in blocking send primitive, the sender will not send any message until it receives the acknowledgement. So in such a case, the sending process could get blocked forever when the message is lost on the network. If the acknowledgement is lost from which is coming from a receiving process, then it can be in a blocked state. So to prevent this situation, blocking send primitives will often use a timeout value that specifies an interval of time after which the send operation is terminated with an error status. Means we will say, for example, in the previous case where you have pinged your friend with hi, after some time or from 5-10 minutes, if he or she is not responding, you will again ping with hi. Like that, with some timeout value, we can prevent the situation of getting blocked from the send primitive. So in such a case, it will show an error status that the message has been lost. So always the blocking send primitive follow the timeout value approach. Either the timeout value may be default value, means some 10 seconds is default, means if we have not assigned any timeout value, it is 10 seconds, that is default value. Or the users may provide the timeout value. So timeout value may also be associated with blocking receive also. Similarly, not only for blocking send, we can also keep it for blocking receive primitive also, in order to prevent the receiving process from getting blocked indefinitely. Indefinitely means it will be in a blocked stage only. Whenever we see that process will be in the blocked state. So all these timeout value will be helpful in blocking send and blocking receive primitive. So when both the send and receive primitives of a communication between two processes use blocking semantics, that communication is said to be synchronous. Synchronous means both are having the blocking semantics, means blocking send and blocking receive. Hi, hi, hello, hello, like that blocking semantics. In that case, the communication is said to be synchronous. And the other thing is, in synchronous communication, there will be no buffer. In this case, there will be no buffer in a synchronous. Otherwise, the communication is called as asynchronous, where we can use the buffer. In asynchronous communication. So that is, for synchronization communication, the sender and receiver must be synchronized to exchange a message. So in such a communication, what that is? Synchronous communication, both the sender and receiver must be synchronization, means they should send or receive messages at the same time. So to exchange messages. One thing you remember, synchronous messages or synchronous communication will not use buffer. And the second thing is, both the two communicating processes will be happened or will exchange the information at the same time. And the process is so in a synchronous communication, the sender and receiver will agree with the time. Agreed with the place and time is nothing but synchronous. So there will be an agreement for communication in a synchronous. Say for example, when I have sent that there is a online class at 10:30, it is an agreement between you and me that there is a online class at 10:30, which is an example for synchronous communication. And asynchronous communication is nothing but these video classes where you will have time. You need not maintain the time. You can learn whenever you want. That is asynchronous, and buffer is needed for that case. That is nothing but our YouTube channel. Whereas in synchronous mode, we won't have a buffer. So conceptually, the sending process sends a message to the receiving process, and then it waits for an acknowledgement. After executing the receive statement, the receiver remains blocked until it receives the message sent by the sender. So the receiver is blocked up to what time? It receives the message from the sender. On receiving the message, the receiver sends an acknowledgement to the sender. So all these mechanism is illustrated here. Sender's execution and receiver's execution. The send message is sent. Further messages are suspended, and here all the receiver's execution is in blocked state until it gets the message from sender. Okay, see here, blocked state is this dotted line and executing state is this solid line. The sender execution is here in solid line, means it is executing its process. It have sent the message until it receive the acknowledgement. This sender's execution is in blocked state, right? Whatever dotted line is there, it is the blocked state. Execution is resumed at what time? When the receiver's acknowledgement is received by the sender, then its execution is started. In the similar manner, at the receiver's end, receive execution is suspended until it receives the message. After receiving the message, the execution have started and it has sent the acknowledgement to the sender. So this is the synchronous mode of execution communication with both send and receive primitives. These are having blocking type semantics, means they will block their end until it receives the message or it receives the acknowledgement. So compared to asynchronous communication, the synchronous communication is simple and it is easy to implement. But this synchronous communication also provides reliability because it assures that the sending process, what it assures the sender that the message has been accepted and it is received by the receiver. So whenever there is a case of losing of messages or those messages which are undelivered, in such a case only we should resume the execution. So main drawback of synchronous communication is it limits the concurrency and it may subject to deadlocks. It is somewhat less flexible than asynchronous communication. See here, it is easy and simple to implement, but it is somewhat less flexible than asynchronous communication because the sending process always has to wait for an acknowledgement from the receiving process even when this is not necessary, means there is no necessity of receiving an acknowledgement from the receiver whether it is received or not. See, if there is some secret information we will wait for some acknowledgement. If it is a normal casual talk we need not wait for an acknowledgement. So in such a case it might be a problem in synchronous communication. So more about this concurrency we will discuss in chapter 8. So a flexible message passing system will follow both the blocking and non-blocking primitives for send and receive so that the users can choose the most suitable one to match the specific needs for their applications. If for some application they want to only blocking mode, they can use, or in some situations in some cases where both are needed, where you can have blocking and non-blocking primitives, means synchronous and asynchronous communication is also possible. So overall we have discussed about blocking send, blocking receive, non-blocking receive and non-blocking send, which is synchronous and asynchronous communication. Hope you have all understood about the topics we have discussed here. If you have still any doubts, we will discuss in online class. Further, you can also mail me at gayatricrr2021@gmail.com. Thank you.